everybody, and welcome to Lunch for the Soul, our very first day for this live stream. But I hope that every Wednesday from now on, you will grab your snacks, your lunch, whatever it is, grab a coffee mug, a hot tea, a water, whatever it is, and sit down and let's just refill our cups. We know in this big, busy world we live in, it can get really stressful, but how nice to fill up that cup. We're midweek, we've made it this far, and let's just talk about something incredibly empowering. I have an amazing guest to introduce you to. So here we go. I feel like we need a drum roll for this amazing woman. Meet Michelle Tate, an unbelievable go-getter who has so much faith. I don't even know where to begin with you, Michelle, but let's just begin from the beginning. And then I want to talk about how faith has gotten you this far. So last February, you moved to Texas. You were so excited to get here from California, but it was snowing and you thought you had to get used to the Texas weather and you weren't feeling so good, but it was so much more than that, wasn't it?
A lot more.
What was happening with you? You actually had COVID-19 and didn't realize it?
I did. And I started feeling ill, like you said, right when the snow had started coming in. I thought maybe it was like a bug or maybe I was having allergies. I did, change the air, change the weather, whatever have you. Mm-hmm. So I was sick just about 4 weeks. And then at the house, that's where I had passed out. My daughter found me unresponsive. She went next door and got the next door neighbors. They came upstairs to the room and called the ambulance, and they took me to Memorial Hermann in the Woodlands. And there I stayed just about 4 months. 3 of those months where I was in a coma. And then
they came up. They came up with a very high-tech way to save your life when a ventilator, and that's what we all count on when we get really sick, a ventilator to save our lives. It was too much. Yeah. Michelle, I have a surprise for you. There was a man who was so absolutely obsessed with getting you out of that hospital, getting you home with your daughter, and you're about to see him for the first time in a very long time. So I'm going to add him to this. There you go. Let's go ahead.
Hey,
Dr. Daniel Keeblin, the Director of Critical Care at Memorial Hermann in the Woodlands Medical Center here. What do you have to say to this man who did everything in his power to keep you alive?
Hi, Dr. Keeblin. Hi.
Hey, Michelle.
I feel a lot better. Thank you for your help. And thank you. Thank you to your staff. Thank you for your help. Boy, this is exciting. I'm glad to be alive. I feel a ton better. And I don't know what to say. I don't want to cry. So thank you.
It's a beautiful moment. I want our viewers to understand how serious this situation is and how grave it was and what it took for you to pull out of this. So I'm going to share my screen and show everybody what it took, how it took about a dozen medical workers to get you up on your feet. It's just a dramatic moment. And I'm hoping you can walk us through what this was like, what it felt like for you. You've got a walker there, but you had what's called an ECMO machine attached to your jugular vein. Dr. Keeblin, can you explain what is going on with this in this situation?
Yeah, so when Michelle came to our hospital, she was initially in our floor, step-down unit, and then was eventually brought up to our ICU after about a week. And the day she arrived to ICU, she was on a BiPAP mask, like a CPAP, like people use for sleep apnea, to keep her oxygen levels up. She was still failing that. So we had to put her on the ventilator, put a breathing tube in and connect her to the ventilator. And even with the best ventilator settings that we could do, we were still struggling to keep her oxygen levels up. So our option in that case, that Michelle was a good candidate to go on ECMO, which is extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. And it's basically a peripheral lung bypass machine. So similar to what people are put on when they undergo open heart surgery and have a bypass or a heart valve replacement. But in Michelle's case, it was really just to help out with her lung function and bring her oxygen levels up. So we had a very large IV in her neck and her jugular vein, as you mentioned, that was pulling about
the size of a garden hose, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe that's even physically possible. How in the world can you safely put something the size of a garden hose inside somebody's jugular vein?
With a lot of great technique and skill, and Dr. Maniscalco, our cardiovascular surgeon who placed it on Michelle, is very, very talented. And it really is, as you said, a multidisciplinary team that is required to take care of patients like Michelle. And it's physicians and all the other physicians in my group, about a dozen who probably took care of her over the course of those 4 months, but also a nurse who's there every moment of every day, night shift and a day shift, nursing, the perfusionist who actually help us run the ECMO machine, radiology techs, the lab techs, like all of those people coming together to keep her alive until we could get her to the point where, yeah, we needed to get up and walk her in order to help regain some lung function after she'd been laying there paralyzed for 2 months. And so she was the first person we'd ever done that on in our hospital. And we had to touch base with colleagues in the Texas Medical Center and other places and gain their expertise and put together a protocol for being able to safely walk Michelle. And we have a fantastic team, and everybody was dedicated and said, we got to do this. Well, she's neurologically in there. Let's get her better.
And as we take a look at video of her, of all of these medical workers who were so invested in this care and cared so much about her. I know, Dr. Keeveland, we saw you in tears and you saying that you will take it to your grave the moment you got to see her go home and know what good you all were able to do and pull off the greatest odds.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's throughout the difficulty of the past 2 or 3 months, Michelle, you're the person, one of the things that I've gone back to and saying, look, sometimes things don't look good for patients, but remember what we did for Michelle. And I've told the staff that over and over again.
Michelle, you wanted to get home to that girl of yours, your precious daughter, didn't you?
Yes, absolutely. She's doing exceptionally well. A couple of the nurses here, they painted with her. She drew pictures. They made her a blanket. And so when I got home, maybe about 2 weeks after I got home, her teacher wanted to skip her to the 3rd grade. Mm-hmm. And I thought, did they tutor her too? I'm like, what's going on around here? So even though I had joked with Dr. Keeveland once I started walking, I said, Dr. Keeveland, I'm going to apply for a job at the hospital. And my daughter said to me, maybe after I'd been home for maybe about 2 weeks, my daughter said to me, Mommy, I want to work at the hospital. And I thought, great, now I got to become a doctor or a nurse or somebody. I said, I'm going to come to these people. Like, they're like her heroes. And I'm used to being her hero. So anyways, Morgan's doing very well. I mean, there are no words, exactly. I don't know how they got my daughter through the summer, my husband, but the team didn't just take care of me, but they took care of my family, and I appreciate that.
And Dr. Keeveland, I know so many times as a physician, you do your best to be a professional here and not get your heart involved, because it's difficult. You have to live your own life, but at the same time, you can't help but get involved when you're dealing with a patient, not only day after day, but week after week, month after month. And in this situation, when I talked to you earlier, you said all you could picture was your own wife in that situation and trying to get you would hope a team would do the same thing. How important was that for you to see this mom go home and to live a life and to pull through this?
It was an incredible thing to have the privilege to be able to help Michelle out and help her daughter out and help her family out and get her through this. And we can't always save everybody with COVID. This disease is terrible. It's the disease I hate most in the world right now, far above certain things that I used to hate the most, like various cancers. But the way it has robbed some families of their mothers, their fathers, their brothers, their sisters. But we have to keep trying to do our best for every single case. And Michelle's odds were long at various points, but she pulled through, and that's what we have to keep trying and keep doing, as if every patient were our own family.
What made this particular situation so remarkable is the fact that she was the very first patient that you had ever at your hospital gotten up on their feet with this ECMO machine. How big of a feat was that? And how does that give people hope who might end up, hopefully not, but if they were to have a severe case of COVID and a ventilator no longer work, that this could give them hope as well?
Yeah, so ECMO is an advanced life-saving modality, but it comes with great risk. As you said, we're running this large garden hose from somebody's neck or sometimes some other spots, but pulling 4 liters of blood out of their body and then bumping up the oxygen levels, bringing down the carbon dioxide levels through the ECMO circuit, and then putting it back in. But it's not without risk. And so we are always considering that in every patient that we evaluate for ECMO. All right, there's the risk of, well, what if something dislodges and you have significant bleeding? What if that as you're running that blood through that machine, you're placing a patient at increased risk of infection in some ways from bacterial infections? So we have to say, is each patient someone who is actually, those risks are less than the potential benefits that we can get from ECMO? And it's not every patient fulfills that. Okay. And it's not a fix-all. The patients that we are able to get through on ECMO tend to be younger. They tend to be Michelle's age, in 30s, 40s, maybe 50s. Patients who are in their 60s or 70s, unfortunately, like their body tends to just not have enough reserve, even if ECMO is added on. So we have to be careful in our selection also to say, well, I don't want to put somebody who's not a good candidate on ECMO when 2 days later I have somebody else who's a very good candidate, and then I have a limited number of machines. So we're always trying to balance that, those features in there.
That certainly makes sense.
Yeah.
Michelle, I love through all of this that you wanted to use your story to try to help other people. And there was not a vaccination available for your age group when this happened to you. You woke up and all of a sudden there was a vaccine available. And so you got vaccinated before you left the hospital. What is your thought and how are you helping encourage other people to consider a vaccine if they haven't gotten one?
My family and friends, I don't really say much anymore. I just kind of look at them. And
you just give a look.
And so far the look, it's been working. It really has. And I'm available to do the look on FaceTime. I even found a little emoji that kind of matched my look. Like, don't do that. But anyways, it has been quite a journey. I'm getting a little bit better, with not telling ring strangers, hey, have you got vaccinated? Asking questions like that. It gets a little personal. But when I first got out of the hospital, it was that serious to me, to where, I do my social distancing thing. But if, we got into a common conversation inside the grocery store, hey, have you got vaccinated? You should. I almost died. It really hurts. COVID is really hurts, And believe it or not, there are some people that, I don't know, I guess they thought COVID was like a myth, or it wasn't real, or the numbers were elevated or exaggerated or whatever. But so even if they kind of get a little shaky, I just kind of show them, my little ECMO scar and my trach scar here. And, I don't pull out the pictures. I haven't got that far yet. But, I do what I can to try to convince them otherwise.
And Dr. Keelan, I know you're a busy man running a huge hospital, and you got some critically ill patients, I'm sure, to go be a blessing to. So I don't want to keep you any longer. But the last thing I want to ask you is, how incredible is it that Michelle loved your hospital so much that she said, you know what, I'm switching careers and I'm working for Memorial Hermann in the Woodlands, where they saved my life. That's got to be pretty cool to be able to call her a colleague now.
Absolutely. And I hope things are going well, Michelle. I'm going to have to go down and visit you sometime soon.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Keelan. Love and hugs. I know for Michelle, right?
Bye, Dr. K.
And Michelle, I'm going to get real with you for a second, because you and I had a really funny conversation that I want to make sure we are able to share. And that is what you really, really wanted to happen after you woke up. So I talked about this on air this morning, that there was a magic moment for you. Does this ring a bell? You looked down at your hands after months in a coma, and you wouldn't think that you'd be thinking about that, but you were, weren't you?
Yeah. So when I woke up from the coma, Melissa, I looked at my nails and I still thought it was April. I was talking to my husband, and it was Later August. And so I said, Todd, what's wrong with my nails? Why would you let my nails get like this? I need a fill. I can't believe I'm in the hospital like this. He goes, Michelle, it's August. It's almost August. So once he let me know that, I hadn't had a fill in a couple months, I was a little upset, but, hurry up and got my nails done. The staff there at the hospital, the nurses were incredible. I couldn't leave the hospital, of course, because I was still, sick. But, they spent time with me, bought me manicured stuff. And once I was going through rehabilitation in the tier department, I just kind of sat by the window, did my nails. And
I think it's really important for people to know that this was a tough thing to learn how to walk again, to learn how to speak again. And the whole time you kept a higher faith through all of this. Can you talk about how you were able to dig so deep and use your faith to not only get through it, but to get to the other side, and all with a positive attitude. Because I saw you telling those nurses, no, I'm not quitting, because they would say, do you want to sit down? Do you want to sit down? And you'd say, no, I got this. How'd you do that?
You know what, to be honest with you, Melissa, once I woke up and they told me slowly different little pieces of information, like, no, Michelle, it's not April, it's August. No, Michelle, your nails are not done. My hair had grown out crazy. It was just a lot of things going on. I figured, I must be here for a reason, number one. Number two, God doesn't make mistakes. So that's what I use to fuel the rest of my journey. And it was horrible. I will be honest with you. I had a lot of sad days, sad moments, because each time you realize something had changed, there's that fear of you won't return the same. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the reason why I wouldn't, like when I would get tired and winded when we were walking, part of the reason why I wouldn't stop was because I did not want to not get to my better self. I didn't want to, I felt like if I was going to stop, I wouldn't be able to continue again. Mm-hmm. So what I made a promise to myself was, after I realized that, God had me here for a reason, and this is what I'm here for, then I'm going to apply my best foot forward, do the best I can, and then I know that, once we do things in faith and allow God to help us the rest of the way, or put our hand in his hand, so to speak, then he has promised to meet us there and then take us the rest of the way. So that's why I wouldn't quit. I felt like them asking me, am I tired? They were doing like their human, secular job. Mm-hmm. And it was my job, spiritually and naturally, so not to quit. So that's how I did it.
Let's talk more about, for someone who's in a tough situation, and we know that people go through a tough time, and whether it might not even be an illness, it could be a number of things. What do you suggest to people in order to be able to get through it? And, sometimes, and I always say, when really bad things happen, really good things come out of it. Oftentimes, it takes a while to get there, but some really positive things can get better. Like for you, when I talked to you earlier, you told me, I don't get mad at traffic anymore. I mean, there's something to be said about that in Houston, right?
Right. Absolutely. You kind of just make sure that you keep first things first. So no, I don't get mad at traffic anymore. I used to chase my dog around the house for trying to chew up a purse or a shoe. What's a purse? What's a shoe? And that thought process was actually the main thought process I had in switching careers in my 40s. Mm-hmm. So to have been in one career and own a business for 8 years, but 20 years in that industry, then to come over to maybe the hospital side, it was scary. But I figured if my determination to live was as strong as God's determination to keep me here, then I should be okay. So and I couldn't imagine
I was just going
to any other place. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask you, you have I guess a natural place of faith anyway, because of your background with your husband, right?
Yes. My husband is a reverend. He is. Gosh, we grew up singing in the choir together, believe it or not. So I've known him for, I guess, like half of my life. But anyways, we were in the youth department together, Sunday school together, and we ended up getting married. So yeah, I'm a reverend's wife, believe it or not.
Well, I know a lot of prayers were said over you during all of your illness, and with good reason, because you're an amazing person. I'm glad you moved here from California so that we can all learn from your journey to learn how to remain strong in our faith when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And you're about as tough as anyone I have ever met. Bless you. Thank you for sharing this journey with us. It's truly remarkable.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Keep up the faith. All right. Thank you all for joining us for Lunch for the Soul. Michelle Tate, an amazing young lady. We will have many more on Wednesdays to come. I hope you have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Bye.